years or something. Or like a year or two ago. Ooh, I just got the alert on my phone. We're live. Look at that.
So considerate.
Thanks, Google.
Just in case he didn't know. Just in case he didn't know we were live. Back again.
Hey guys, welcome to the Flat Out Fever Formula One podcast.
Episode 78.
Ooh,
Here we are.
We're getting there.
Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was definitely at night.
A night.
Definitely a night race.
Yeah.
Except the first practice. Did you see that?
I saw the highlights on Reddit.
Yeah, I saw parts. It looks weird, right? It was in daytime.
I was like, this is
I thought this was a night race.
Even,
daytime.
what's it called? What's his name? Ted Kravitz. At one point, he was like, "Oh, like I kind of like this circuit, like quite a bit during the day." Like,
Shut up, Ted.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
It looks so much cooler at night. Get out of here.
Yeah,
It's so much cooler at nighttime.
Get out of here, Ted Kravitz. What do you know?
Put on some pants.
Yeah. It was hot. It was sweaty. It was nighttime.
Yeah.
It was long. It was pretty long. It's a pretty long race.
It's the longest race, right?
Yeah, time-wise, I guess.
More like single rich though. Am I right?
Yeah, right?
That city has lots of money. It looks like.
Everybody that goes there
Man,
anyway.
the whole pageantry out the ass.
Well, absolutely. Now, before we get into more detail on the pageantry up the ass,
Yeah.
I want to take a second again to say thanks to everybody that showed up to F1 at Betty's.
Yeah,
And
Betty's
again, great.
Betty's was cool again.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, great turnout.
Very cool.
You know, even the people that like only stayed for half the race, that was cool.
Exactly
You know,
half.
yeah, exactly. Like
I noticed.
exactly
I
half.
noticed.
Boom, they dipped. Because it was like clearly it was like this guy like trying to like introduce his girlfriend to the sport, and that like at least
That's
with
such a hard
F1,
thing.
like it's not gonna go well, buddy. If you have a girlfriend already that kind of likes F1, just consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
Like,
I've been doing this. We've been doing this podcast for about a year and a half now, almost 2 years.
yeah.
Almost 2 years,
Almost 2
and
years.
my girlfriend still like she knows some of the names, but she will not watch a race.
Yeah, no.
Like
no.
she'll look at it. You're like, okay, well this is neat. I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah. Laura shows up for the races
Yeah.
sometimes. That's my girlfriend, but just to like hang out with
It's
people.
hang out.
It's a hangout.
Yeah, have a cider and just not look at the TV.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to face towards the television.
But no, we did have it was a sick setup. So this is what we did this time for the race. We had two big TVs. Before we only had one big screen available, but the folks at Betty's, they heard us and they added another TV. I'm sure it wasn't because of us, but they heard us. They added a second TV, and then thanks to Dave, shout out to Dave.
How cool was that?
Yeah, he set up. So in the one screen we had the Sky F1, whatever feed, and on the second screen for everybody out there we had the live timing courtesy of the F1
The
app,
F1 app. Yeah.
and both together synced. It's a great viewing experience.
Very cool.
If you can afford it, and if you can somehow set this up with two big screens, or at least like your big screen at home and on a
Yeah,
computer.
even if you're at home, just throw it on your laptop, on your phone, your tablet, or whatever you got.
Just following the
second
action,
screen.
the action with the live
so cool.
timing,
So
like
cool.
you don't realize like that it's gonna help you understand the race that much more, but it really does. Like
The
and
timing plus the real app gives you the overhead view of the actual circuit. So
Right.
you
Where- and
see
you can
like
see where everyone
you
is.
see like the colored dots of each team's car with the names beside them and where they actually are in the whole circuit, as
It's
well
pretty
as
legit.
all the tire info, pit stops, gaps, intervals, the sector times, everything you can imagine.
and if anything,
Whoever's seatbelts came undone,
Yeah.
they give you little radio updates and stuff like that, or just like comment,
just little snippets.
almost commentary snippets. Yeah, not even radio specific. Somebody's sitting there and saying,
typing it. Yeah,
just commenting.
it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool app.
very,
But yeah,
very cool.
it was a good Sunday. We had a good race too. I was commenting like towards the end
right.
how you can
How
tell
long it was?
Well, it was long, but it was great. And you can tell when the Singapore Grand Prix is an exciting Singapore Grand Prix because they don't do so many shots of like slow-mo HD like into the driver's eyes because you can see them, like you can see like their eyes through the visor. And they like that's I remember like noticing that like the first time that I watched the Singapore Grand Prix ever, I was like, oh man, like they really seem to like focus on like the guys like eyes as they're cornering when there's nothing else going on. But no, there was like pretty much something going on at all stages of the race.
I mean, how else were you gonna know whose helmet that was?
Yeah, right.
Ferrari. Yeah, but Vettel changed his helmet, right, or something like that. And I know Bernie made.
He had like a shiny version of this, of basically the same helmet, like a sparkly version.
I can see how people get that confused with another driver.
Get the fuck out of here. The T on top of their head is one's orange, one's black. It's easy.
I'm making a slight at Bernie.
Yeah, I know. But Bernie's making a slight at
cameraman,
the world,
and like I don't know, the driver's egos a little bit, I guess. Well, I guess it's the opposite. It's protecting their egos because you don't have
they're frail.
One of the two doesn't have to admit that his camera T is yellow. Mine's yellow, guys. That must mean I suck.
Oh man.
Okay. From the beginning, though, like from the start of the weekend, like we could see that this was gonna be like, everything was mounting up to be a pretty good race.
Yeah.
Like, Lewis not getting enough practice time. Like during P1, he had to like basically sit out the whole thing.
Oh.
He basically had to like he had very little running on Friday. Then he had to leave all his testing for Saturday. People were having all kind like you actually were commenting how like everybody was just going into the walls.
all these little scrapes, all the little bumps into the side.
And I don't know, like if you last year, people are this year are saying like I remember like reading some commentary, some post race commentary, and like people were like, oh, you know, people were surprised that the Verstappen wasn't further up than what he ended up, but he wasn't particularly fantastic last year either. Yeah. And neither were all the like young ones.
He hasn't done very well at Monaco either.
That's
Remember
it.
I thought he died last year.
Yeah.
He went head first into the end of the pit straight at, I don't know, almost 300 kilometers an hour.
So it's these tight circuits that like you can clearly like for many good reasons they do like experience does come to play.
Yeah,
and actually being a great driver does.
Well,
come to
look
play.
at Alonso, right?
Yeah, right.
That was love that
Vettel, and again you're seeing like the big names in the sport right now, like Alonso, Vettel, Raikkonen. And Hamilton, they all are characteristically good at circuits like this because maybe because there's something to them, but there's a reason why they're great and they have the experience.
What about Rosberg though?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Hey, Rosberg did a good job.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Like he actually like did a good job, like in his own right.
Yeah,
he did.
You can't slide him on this one.
Yeah, no,
as much as we want to.
Except
if you don't know, we are huge fans of him.
Just those names you just said. Somebody posted actually I got the Ayrton 91. There's the credit on Reddit. Somebody threw up this fact. About 1/3 of all the F1 races ever have been won by either Michael Schumacher, Alain Prost, Hamilton, Vettel, Senna, or Alonso.
That's amazing.
Oh my god!
Just basically the names you guys just mentioned.
But they're good names. Like they're big names like that for a reason, right?
Yeah, of course, because they've won about 1/3 of the races of all time.
And on the other hand, you have the younger guys, and it does seem like if it's somebody's like first or second season in F1, they get caught out by races like this one, with the notable exception I thought of. There was Pascal Wehrlein. I thought he did a great job with what he had. He maintained it. He got his manner up there. And for a guy that's so inexperienced, and then maybe this is what Mercedes was all about, but because even Verstappen, Ocon, even Magnussen didn't do that great. And Magnussen, if you remember, like the last time that he was here in the McLaren, he wasn't too happy with Singapore either. That was like his drink bottle like exploded or something. And I guess it's a recurring thing for him because his drink bottle wasn't working for this Singapore Grand Prix either.
Yeah, he had a problem again. What are you saying about Ocon there? Let's talk about this now, because I think this is pretty crazy. It's kind of tied into this weekend. Brings in a lot of good examples that tie into this thing that I noticed. So I told you to read that article this weekend. There was an interview between Eddie Jordan and Bernie Ecclestone.
Yes.
Anyone that hasn't read it, if you didn't, it's from about a week ago. You can find it. But it seems like Bernie is done after this purchase. It seems like Bernie is maybe saying some things that...
The interview was actually before the purchase.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he knew about it. It seems like maybe he said a few things or let a few details that he might not have otherwise if he was for sure that he was going to maintain his power. But one of the big questions that Eddie Jordan asked him was with Manor and Wehrlein.
Yes.
He's obviously a talented kid.
Yeah.
And he's all these things floating around about him being backed by Mercedes to move up eventually, I guess. That Eddie Jordan asked Bernie, so obviously Bernie has some background knowledge. What's Mercedes been giving him? An engine, and Bernie's answer was amongst other things.
Yeah.
Among a few other bits,
Yeah.
or something like that. So basically, letting it into the open that Mercedes gives Wehrlein a different engine than his teammate at Manor. Even though they're purchasing two motors, they're supposed to be the same.
Right.
They get
Allegedly.
They get 10 for the year. Yeah, they should be the same. They're not. They're not the same.
Actually, in an indirect way, Ted Kravitz sort of pointed this or like remarked on that. Not necessarily on that, but he did say something about how Ocon definitely his deal a Manor means that Mercedes is definitely giving them a bunch of stuff on a break and not charging maybe necessarily as much as they would anybody else because they wanted Pascal Wehrlein there in the seat.
Right.
But now, because Pascal Wehrlein has proven to be a reasonably good driver, as well as having the Mercedes backing, now they might start it's a weird predicament to be because they might actually start charging Manor a little bit more for the engines and maybe not necessarily give him the same amount of treatment with the parts and whatever else.
Right.
But anyway.
So I read that article, whatever, a week ago, and then I saw a headline today from, I forget his name now, the head engineer of Manor, anyways. He said that he feels like the team has let Ocon down since he's joined the team, because one of the races he had two bad pit stops, which was a 75-second pit stop. And it, for whatever reason, was never revealed. And then another one was about 15 seconds where he's just sitting there what the hell's going on? Had a bunch of electrical issues. He's missed a couple practices because the car was broken or whatever, something wrong with it. He had a brake duct broke, so they had to stop the car for that. Obviously, some communication problems, his team or whatever. This probably, you have to blame the whole team. He passed Nasser behind the safety car.
Yeah.
Got a 5-second penalty for that.
But yeah, if the team told him that it was okay to go, yeah.
They either told him that or they didn't tell him that it was a safety car, and it was right as the safety car started. Maybe he missed the flags or the LEDs or whatever. Who really knows? But yeah, maybe bad communication. So there's a few possibilities that maybe Bernie already admitted that Wehrlein's getting a different engine, a better engine, better electronics, perhaps some of those suspension upgrades on his car, maybe.
Listen, it is entirely possible to think, and I don't know why people have such a big struggle to think of it this way, but you're talking about very complicated machines, right?
Yeah, of course.
And all the parts have to work together.
It takes many people to
and
keep them synced up.
And then they you measure them, you have ways to measure the performance, and if you see that one for whatever reason is just giving you more performance, slightly more, you're talking about it could be 2-3% more than two parts that look identical and just one performs better than the other for things that are not easy to find out right away.
Yeah, Wehrlein gets that one.
Yeah, and but it's not hard to believe that that's the truth.
No, I think that's the truth with every team that has two engines, but I would say that Wehrlein's getting some extra parts, maybe some extra Mercedes software. Maybe he's getting some parts as, in air quotes, as a beta test. Ooh. That maybe his teammate isn't, that Mercedes is already running.
Right.
But hold on, I got one more level to this. So Wehrlein hasn't had any of these pit lane problems, radio communication problems, parts breaking. Perhaps. I only just saw this today.
Do I smell a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's also got with his engine some mechanics from Mercedes. Some dudes who are being maybe recommended. You have more experience.
I know a guy that knows a guy that'll help you out with your engine.
He really knows how to work a tire gun. He can really balance a car.
He's the best in the business.
Yeah, it's either that, or on the other side of the pit garage, Rio Haryanto just left, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he's still around, but yeah.
But yeah, he's given up his seat now. Do you think it's possible? Do you think Ocon, because we didn't have a chance to look this up yet either, Ocon is running with the same pit crew as Rio Haryanto did?
Oh yeah.
Fully?
Well, not fully, but
probably. Because Rio was a racer. Obviously, he didn't just jump into F1 from a street car.
Yeah.
But he must have some guys around him, right? Some guys that have been in his garage since his early days. That come up with him. Something with his management, maybe.
No, not mechanics.
Well, I don't know. Like parts of his team. Like I'm just saying mechanics, but there's like 20 different job descriptions for a team. Yeah, team garage, right? Further
down, like towards the end of
the guys that are on the radio.
Yeah, but towards the bottom of the grid. Like, and we've seen this. Like we looked this up one time. Like if you look up
that makes
for
a big
job
difference
postings,
well.
like around the UK, around that area where all the teams are based on out of. And you check like the job postings for like, and a lot of times it won't be necessarily like 100% evident that you'd be working for an F1 team, but that's clearly what it is. But they're all like 2, 3 months, 4 months, like contract positions. So somebody's like team, somebody's like mechanic, like roster might change from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
That's almost any modern job though. And outside of, you could be like, I don't know, working at a grocery store and they hire you for a 3-month contract just to see if they like you. It's just, but yeah. I don't know, just a weird conspiracy theory. Just because Manor put out this headline themselves that they've let Ocon down since he's taken over Haryanto's seat.
Oh goodness, sorry.
So, for sure, some dudes have been shuffled around. For sure.
Oh yeah.
There's even a chance like Rio's people, like the people behind him in his country or whatever, might say like Ocon can't have Rio's guy or whatever, that's our guy, or just pay him to leave the team, or you know what I mean, just to make him look worse, because they're still saying Rio Haryanto might come back in the last 2 or 3 races. He's got some ghost sponsors that have popped up.
Isn't he like but they're also saying that like he could come back full time for 2017.
Yeah,
I think that might be like there might be part of like the Rio Haryanto camp, like just trying to like feel a fire that doesn't really exist, just to keep him kind of relevant. I guess that's what you gotta do. You gotta still keep the guy in the headlines. Why not?
Yeah, there's a chance. He had $50 million from his government behind him, but yeah, I don't know. Just my point is, both sides of the garage. Haryanto's side, is that the same dudes that are running Ocon's car?
I think that's very likely. Yes.
Very likely. Yeah. On the other side, the chances that Wehrlein, he's being admitted and hinted that he's getting a different engine and blah blah blah.
Well, he's getting better bits, whatever the bits are.
Mechanics, analysts, whatever, all the way up and down the line. Some Mercedes guys, perhaps.
I mean,
Mercedes got. I guess a big investment in the future of that human being, right? They want he has to do good and he has to look good. His car can't break. He has to finish higher than he started and whatever. Mm-hmm. He's got all that stuff. His publicist and make sure he has a fresh haircut every weekend. You know what I mean?
Gotta go fast.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting
for sure. Going back to the Singapore Grand Prix though, I know the other stuff that happened around. That viewer Michael Warmington just commented a little while ago, but he commented saying that the race really did come alive after Lewis's third stop.
Yeah, it was kind of.
That's because
the top 5 or 6 were sort of floating there for most, like pretty much the same spots. Vettel was alive before that.
Yeah, Vettel was alive. I think Vettel, rightfully so, he won driver of the race.
Yeah,
because there were some clever strategy calls by Ferrari, but he did a great job. to get that car like all the way back into like from last to fifth.
That stupid quote from Mercedes saying that Vettel definitely had the pace to win. He could have won.
Oh my god!
If he had the pace to win, he would have won the race. He would have finished in first place.
What happened to Vettel? Why did he start in last?
His car broke in qualifying. What exactly happened? He didn't make it to the even Q3 because.
Yeah, no, his car just like didn't. They
what
like,
exactly was it?
They fucked up during qualifying.
Yeah,
and remember that was like the first, like the big news from qualifying. I guess that we didn't touch Q1 and Vettel was like at the end of Q1, like sitting in the pits, going like, "What the?
What's going on?" Yeah.
Oh my god.
There was an issue that like put Vettel like bad timing or whatever, and yes, it was clear that they could have done a lot better because Kimi was all the way up there.
Yeah.
But look at where Kimi ended. Like he still just ended fourth, with Vettel's fifth. I'm not saying that they're wrong to have said that Vettel had the pace to win the race, but no, he had the pace to like finish right around where the Ferraris would have done.
Yeah, if the race was like 20 minutes longer, maybe he could have got up there, but Ricciardo couldn't even catch Rosberg. Get out of here.
No way. And it only would have gotten like a lot harder like to like pass Hamilton, Ricciardo. But did you guys see that move that Raikkonen made stick onto Hamilton?
Oh yeah,
that was great. That was some great racing by those two. It was like the moment that the Kimi fans around the world had been waiting to be redeemed from their pride, because Kimi, let's be honest, he hadn't been doing like much spectacular racing recently until last weekend.
How about Godzilla?
Oh yeah, that was
another crazy lizard trying to take over a city.
Yeah,
he didn't get quite as close to the cars as the seagulls did.
That was.
You would have thought big lizard a little more brave. He ran right across the street. The seagulls.
It's that reptile brain in them.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Has anyone like hit an animal? Like, when was the last time someone hit an animal?
I think there's been quite a few times.
There has to be.
Wasn't that gopher was from this past weekend too?
I think a pigeon comes to mind. I'm not sure. Maybe one of our listeners can help us out, but I don't remember exactly when it was. But it has happened before.
This top link here, pull that up for a second. The very top link. But remember also, I think it was this past season in the Formula E race in China, a cat ran across the circuit as well. I think it was an orange cat.
Well, there was
it's pretty much the same thing.
There was a cat like at one point on the track during the Baku weekend, not necessarily the race, but
yeah. Apparently they have we said that before, super feral cat problem in Baku. Ridiculous amount of cats.
This is a picture that who posted this?
I think it was K-Mag.
Yeah.
I didn't save I didn't save the source of this. That dude in the top left is the guy from last year. In the blue, there he is. Yeah.
This is a picture just for our listeners. We're talking about like this Photoshop picture.
K-Mag had it looks like a paint picture.
It's
MS Paint. It's not Photoshop.
It's basically off the one from the marshal that was like running up the street, running down the pit, like the freaking start finish straight, basically.
Oh yeah, that animal almost got hit too.
But then there's that monitor lizard. What is that? What that was?
Yeah,
a monitor lizard.
It was Godzilla.
Yeah, it was. Then there's that Alonso picture from last year when he's just like sitting in that patio chair, and then the Alonso picture right there. It's pretty good. Like if you haven't seen this picture, it's pretty funny. You go to K-Mag's Twitter or something or whatever. But yeah, no. So this happened right after that flag that we had.
Yeah.
And we had this marshal that I don't know, for some reason they decided that it was a good idea to send the cars back out. Somehow race control wasn't aware of this guy out there, and that just makes me think like, what are the mechanics like of? Because clearly this is something that it went wrong. Something didn't go perfectly right.
Sorry. Unit Z or Unit Z. Bruno Senna hit a dog.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah.
What? Oh, it wasn't a GP2 race.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Sad, but hilarious.
But yeah, no, it's so this is a race that a ton of stuff happened up and down the track. I don't say that, like, I wouldn't say that, the race really came alive after Lewis's third pit stop. Only in a way, only for like really like the Lewis Hamilton fans. Let's be honest. If you're a super Lewis fan, then yeah, the race did come alive. But the race there was action like from the beginning.
Danny Rick fan too is alive at the end for those guys. The Rosberg fans get a little nervous maybe.
I want to go back to something like from the start though, because I read this Martin Brundle article like that he posted on Sky, and now he's basically saying he's kind of taking back his whole thing, because he was one of the more vocal people years ago, like saying that like, you know, they need to get rid of that double clutch for the start, you know, drop it down to one clutch. Let's see these guys like trying to find the bite point by themselves. Let's add a little bit more action at the beginning, right? You remember, everybody remembers that. On one of his latest columns on Sky, he's kind of being like, maybe their starts aren't so great.
What? They've been amazing. What the hell's wrong with him?
I know. This is
Who paid him to write that? Lewis? Was it Lewis?
It's probably just that, and it's exactly
because he likes Lewis. He's just in love with Lewis so much.
And okay, so I went and I recommend anybody that if you have a good sense of humor, go out and check out the Facebook page, the Mercedes AMG F1 Facebook page after Nico wins a race, because it is just a shitstorm of people being like, why you guys need to get your shit together and give Lewis a proper race winning car. What happened there? It was all during the start. Why do you give Nico the better parts? Why do you give Nico the better clutches? Oh man, yeah, no, it's crazy.
All the Lewis haters on the other side now trying to blame it on his Playboy lifestyle, and he's not focused.
He's getting distracted.
He's not.
No, but now Martin Brundle. It seems like, hey, Jesus, I didn't put him like I didn't mistake him as a Lewis apologist out there, but he's out there now. He says that the starts are a bit of a problem now because look, one of the quotes says, I'm beginning to realize that the desire to make the drivers more responsible for getting these complex cars from the start line to the braking zone of turn one is having too much effect on the outcome of races. And then
that's how it worked for the first 40 years.
It's
they've only had electronic clutches for the last 15 years or so.
Well, he basically doesn't like. His point is that he doesn't want it to come to a point where the championship is won and lost at the start of like each given race.
It's not. That's not the whole race.
That's bullshit.
The race is 300 kilometers.
Exactly. Yeah, and
305.
But then he goes and says like, oh, you know, but because there's so many accidents that could happen at the start. And he said like, well, look at the start in Singapore, like where Hülkenberg was out like from the get-go, and then a few people received some damage to the bodywork
nobody cares.
That didn't allow them.
Made it exciting.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It made it exciting. And Lewis, it is true that Lewis hasn't been getting the best starts off the line.
He hasn't.
Throughout the year. And
his team, they have admitted that the clutch something's wrong with the clutch.
Yeah, but somebody else in the same team, Nico, and like many other drivers up and down, like the Red Bulls, actually both of them. Alonso still keeps having great starts. Listen, this is a problem that clearly Lewis needs to work with. Don't be now blaming the starts of F1 and the start procedures. And obviously Martin Brundle goes on like a whole tirade about how, oh, you know, back in my day we had a mechanical clutch and like it was very easy to identify like the bite point. Listen, it's just there's that's also the wrong approach. You can't just be like now like saying like, oh, we wanted to bring it how it was in the past, and now because it's not exactly how it was in the past, I'm still upset about it. No, like, man, that's like, the starts have been great, I think, and because the starts have been great, that has created a little bit of drama for the rest of the race, and that's not a bad thing.
I've owned, I forget now, 8 or 9 cars that had manual clutches, manual transmissions.
Yeah.
And you get that every time you get to a red light or a stop sign. You put your foot on the clutch, you put it in gear, and then you feather it in. And once in a while, your foot will slip or something, and you'll hear like a like a little squeak, and the tires squeal. Or sometimes you pull the clutch out too fast, or you don't get or too slow, and you don't get your foot on the gas, and the engine will stall a little bit. That's how it is. That's what driving a car is supposed to be. Oh shit! Show that again. This is Bruno Senna hitting the dog. Oh my god!
Oh,
this is the only one I could find.
That's what you need a halo for. What stops in that? They only caught 2 frames of it. Oh my god! It almost bounced off his face though. You got lucky, man. You need a halo for the dogs.
One of the comments was like, "Oh, it's probably Maldonado's dog."
Oh,
it looks like. Oh, that was in Turkey.
Yeah.
Okay. 2008 in Turkey.
Don't put this sound at all.
But anyways, at least we got our guaranteed safety car for the race.
Yes.
Did you know that was the 300th Grand Prix that Bernd Maylander has driven the safety car for?
Wow.
Yeah, that's insane.
Then
It's more than anyone's even raced or so almost.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody make a big deal about that.
Yeah, that was his 300th, and that was the Singapore Grand Prix was also the 950th Grand Prix
Ever.
ever. Yeah.
Oh, in the
This is
Formula
gonna be
One
like
history.
2.5 years or something. Is gonna be the 1,000th. 2.5 years or so. It's gonna be close to the end of the season. That 25. That's 50 more races, right?
Yeah,
like 220 and 2.5 seasons.
We're gonna have the 1,000th F1 Grand Prix. Wow, let's plan for it right now.
50
boys.
races. 50 races from now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What is it like?
So they're
Like 2
expecting
and a bit years.
expecting probably 18 or 19 races next year. Probably about the same that a year after. Maybe they'll add 1 or 2 because these guys want to expand the calendar. So then we're up to about 40. So yeah, 2.5 seasons. Then we got 6 more this year.
Yeah.
This is gonna be towards the end of the 2018 season, the start of the 2019 season. The 1,000th Grand Prix. Yeah, that was the 950th. I think this was also Nico Rosberg's 200th race.
Oh wow.
I heard people say that.
Yeah, it was his 200th, I believe. But he's again, we mentioned this last week, the driver now with the most starts and the most wins who's never had a championship. Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's got like one of the most starts, and I don't know, something like that. Yeah, he's not gonna win this championship anyway.
No. Who? Nico Rosberg?
Yeah, I don't think so. I still don't think so.
Them fighting words. Let's talk about that for a second.
Hamilton's
can't throw that out there. And
and then just try to like brush it off.
Don't forget,
like
I think
you just
Hamilton
didn't
still
say something like, yeah.
Do you think he is? Hamilton, I think, still has 2.5 more engines this year.
Yeah,
Rosberg has 1.
What does that matter at all? Like, why?
Rosberg's got 1.
He could still have mechanical problems, even if he has two engines that he can spare. He could still get mechanical troubles twice and be at the same place that the Rosberg is.
Yeah, he's got the same possible. The same thing going on with Rosberg and Hamilton as Wehrlein and Ocon.
No,
giving
no way.
Just giving the German guy the better machinery.
If anything, I still like think that maybe they might have given him the better mechanics, but that's because they had to they had to do that swap. Yeah,
for sure. You got the better mechanics. Yeah.
Right, like Lewis's crew, whatever. Like they seem to be to know what they were doing, or Lewis's former crew. But I don't think. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. Why wouldn't you say like? You still think that at this point, right now, he's 8 points ahead, and there's only 6 races left. And I know that's like a big chunk of points, but it's entirely possible that he could win. He's still in the championship fight. Mm-hmm. You can't say that he's not. You can't. Just
of
say
course,
that,
it's possible he's gonna win, but he could, but he won't.
Why? Why not?
Because he's Nico Rosberg and his teammates Lewis Hamilton. Don't you know who Martin Brundle is? No, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be still a fight, but I don't believe that he will. Still, he's gonna be so depressed next year.
What if he doesn't win?
Yeah,
if he doesn't win, then
when he doesn't win.
Yeah, unit Z or Z. Tell me which way you want to pronounce because we're from Canada. He says, well, the only people that have won Singapore have won the Drivers' Championship that year. If Nico doesn't win, he will have that to add to his stats.
One of those other, off to the side facts.
Still relevant.
We didn't talk about the Bottas problem, did we?
With the seatbelt?
Seatbelt popped open.
No.
Not a huge story, but his seatbelt came undone somehow. But I don't know, I was showing you guys just before we watched this show, this week's episode of Jay Leno's Garage.
Yeah.
He had, I don't know, some rock star dude shows up with, I think it was a Dodge Charger, one of those.
Okay.
It's an original one with the Hemi motor or whatever.
Hang on a second.
40,000 kilometers on it. Comes from the factory with the seatbelt rolled up in the headliner, and it's still there from brand new. The car's never been restored. So they're driving around this thing, no seatbelt. The guy's never had a seatbelt on in there, but for like 40 years. Mm. And they used to, as we were saying too, they until Senna's days, they were racing F1 with no seatbelts, weren't they?
70s, 60s, and 70s that got introduced. Like what's it called?
They weren't mandatory at first, were they?
They were.
Right
Jackie Stewart was like he was saying that he had a hard time like getting out of his seatbelt. But yeah, cars had seatbelts like as far back.
Not like the modern 5-point harnesses though. They started with lap belts.
Yeah, I think it's just other kinds of seatbelt, but no, for sure, like during like Fangio's days, yeah, those cars did not have seatbelts at all. For sure, those didn't.
They didn't have the G-forces like now either. Yeah. These guys now, you have your shoulder straps and you have two men stand above you and pull with their body weight to tighten you into the seat, right? Yeah, it's like with a fighter jet too. You have to tighten. You have to become part of the vehicle basically. You strap yourself in so tight so you can handle the G-forces.
Quick thing though, just to go back to what Unit Z said. I just want to make sure because something about that didn't sound right. Unit Z, you are kind of on the right track by saying that only like the World Driver Championships or champions have won the Singapore Grand Prix, and that much is true. Only people that have won ever the world that have been a champion, only F1 champions.
Yeah.
Have won the Singapore Grand Prix up until this point, but it's not true that if you win that so far whoever wins the Singapore Grand Prix goes on to win in the championship. That did not happen. For example, in both 2008 and 2010, that Alonso won the race, and obviously he did not go on to win the World Championship that year. But it is still an interesting. It is still an interesting strategy or an interesting stat that only F1 champions have won the Singapore Grand Prix up until now. Up until now.
But I don't know. We could argue all day anyways about if it's going to be Hamilton or Rosberg. But there's no argument about whether or not it's going to be a Mercedes.
Oh, yeah.
So
not by a long shot.
Check out this stat. Since the turbo engines have been introduced, we've been through...
2014?
Yeah. Since they've been introduced, I believe we've been through now 54 races. Mm-hmm. 7 have been won by a non-Mercedes car. 2 of them, at least 2, have been because the 2 Mercedes took each other out. Because Nico's hit me! Because these guys took each other out and ruined their races. Only one this year. Max Verstappen won one race this year.
See, Wiki says that standardized seatbelt anchorage was added in 1961.
That's for a lap belt, I guess.
Yeah.
Dudes were still flying out of cars back then.
Yeah, it's just shitty seatbelts and whatever.
Like slip right there.
And actually, like and the other thing is that your like the steering wheel.
Removable
but the steering wheel also kept you in the car because you were kind of locked to it.
Oh yeah.
Like so that kind of counted as part of like your safety protection, but obviously things have changed from that.
True. Yeah. Anyways, only one's been this year. Mm-hmm. 2 at least were because those guys took each other out.
Yeah.
So that leaves only like 5 separate. The only other team since the turbo era to lead the Constructors' Championship was McLaren in the first year running a Mercedes engine. Yeah. That's when everyone was still figuring out what the hell was going on.
That's true.
And they didn't win the championship. They led it for a week or 2. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know exactly how long. This with the Mercedes engine. Yeah, that's about it now. And
I think that's an interesting stat because as much as that, like if you told me that, let's say at the beginning of 2014, if you told me, listen, for the next couple of years, we're gonna see a Mercedes dominance to a ridiculous extent, to the extent that by the end of 2016, we're only gonna see seven non-Mercedes winners.
Yeah, they weren't even all different.
Yeah, just non-Mercedes winners. I would have said, I would have been like, all right, like I'm not watching F1 anymore because it's clearly gonna be like absolutely boring and it's gonna be like a ridiculous like. But it hasn't been. For some reason, this Mercedes dominance has not coincided with a dulling of the sport, so to speak, or really realistically like any less action. I do remember that within the past like 3 years, we've had some of the most interesting races I've ever watched. Like there's been some crazy racing, even though the winner has been quite predictable. You know, it's been one out of two guys most of the time.
Yeah.
So
There's all kinds of criticism, but the criticism's been working. They've changed a bunch of stuff that's good now.
We have to
these starts that we just talked about, all the starts are being badass. The races are cool. The tire system this year is totally innovative. They could have had this since back in the day with F1. You know what I mean?
why not? Yeah.
It's so cool. And I would like to see them open it.
The qualifying is good.
Yeah, like the qualifying's been cool.
Hey,
I like
guys,
to
remember when like qualifying sucked?
Yeah,
at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
I think even
like that one race.
it seems like such a small thing, but the rebalancing this year, where the because up until last year the Q1 was they were 10, 15, and 20 minutes, so now they do 12, 15, and 18.
Yeah,
I think that's very cool as well.
yeah.
The-
Just that those extra 2 minutes at the end of Q3.
And yeah, the two less minutes on
Q1.
and the when everybody's trying to scramble. That's both work.
Absolutely.
Keeps qualifying the same length for the TV bullshit. Same breaks in between. Yeah, there's been a lot of good stuff coming out of it.
I think that just goes to show you that what's broken with the sport is not the sport itself. It clearly had been a management thing, and that's I think why so many people are like.
You see Bernie's facial expression every time this weekend. Every time he got caught somewhere, he doesn't look too happy anymore.
No, he's not happy because it's not his show anymore.
Yeah.
He's completely being reduced to the backbench. So good. It's so good to see Bernie like just cracking like that when he shoved that reporter. Mike, show this clip. Like this is something great. The Bernie
I'm just
shove.
Quoting my own tweet here, but yeah, Chase Carey definitely did not know what he was getting himself into when he had to start partnering with Bernie X.
Actually, like, do you like?
If you can throw it up, I got two angles there.
Yeah. Do you think we can like kind of do two
if you can
side by side
would be cool.
Yeah.
But I like to just Chase Carey though. He's said a couple of nice quotes this weekend. He said, "I'm here to listen, not to talk."
Mm-hmm.
Bernie's never said that, and he said
We can show this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not official
without the
F1
sound
footage.
It's only a little corner of the screen, whatever.
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't even know.
You guys ready?
Yeah. But I don't think they both go like. What happened to the one on the right?
Oh.
What's going on with it? Anyway, bear with us.
They're just different angles. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, this from Sky. Yeah, there you see Bernie.
Short.
Anyone who didn't see this clip, if hopefully you can find this on YouTube or on our Twitter. Actually, I tweeted both angles. It's basically a cameraman sort of walked in front of Bernie with his camera in front of his face. He didn't realize you kind of give cameramen an extra space when you see them. It's common sense.
Yeah.
He shoves the guy with his full might. Don't forget Bernie's only 5'3" or so, but
Full might.
yeah,
It's like a hobbit trying to like push over a giant.
Yeah.
look how small that dude is.
But it's so ridiculous because clearly, and actually, leave it there on the streamable frame. It's so good. Okay. So what had happened is that everybody's attention was on Chase Carey and Bernie. Like you have to forgive the guy, this cameraman, because if he didn't see Bernie coming, I'd forgive him. Bernie's like 5'0", right? So if you turn around and you're trying to catch Chase Carey, and this is what happened, and then he basically like bumped into Bernie because he didn't see him there, and he was more focused on getting Chase Carey. So Bernie goes and like moves him out of the way, like the definition of what a cantankerous old man is.
Look at his eyebrow. Look at Chase's eyebrow. He's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? You can just that frame that you caught right there. His face is like this.
It tells all the story. Now, if
do you know what this reminds me of? Yeah. When before we started the show, when your old cat and your kitten are both in this room. Yeah. If you try to pet the old cat, you give him any attention at all, the other cat it's kind of like the opposite of these two guys, I guess. The younger one needs the attention, but Bernie's like the kitten. He starts like the kitten. He starts jumping up on. He starts pawing at your hat, jumping up on your chair. He gets up on the table, knocks stuff over. Pay attention to me. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
What a but
this is my favorite part about it.
No, Bob Fernley in the background the entire time. He
laughing.
was just
Let that loop again. It'll just keep looping.
He's laughing the entire time, and he cannot believe that this is happening in front of him. Like, look at him. He's like.
Bob Field Day.
Yeah, Bob Fernley again. He's the boss of Force India. Well, he's.
Oh man, look at Chase's face. Like you cut that frame like on the millisecond of his eyebrow.
Happy, and then what's going on? And that's him in disbelief. Like, what the fuck did he do that for? Now, if anybody doesn't know, like this guy here, that guy, like this buddy, over there, like telling this guy.
Is he Bernie's media manager?
Well, I forget his name. He's just this Italian guy, Matteo or something like that. Mm. He is like Bernie's like grunt. He's Bernie's sort of number 2 guy, but not in a.
See his hand right away. Yeah. The palm up.
Yeah. He's just kind of like the guy that follows Bernie around and like just like.
It's like, hey, Bernie's coming. Turn the lights on in here. Stuff like that.
And he's an Italian guy, right? Like, and look at him. Like you
Watch
can tell. Like,
look at his hands come up.
He's probably beating some people up like for Bernie. He's like if you see this guy showing up to you with a suitcase in the middle of the night in a dark alley, like you know you're in trouble. Yeah. Like you're like
he's gonna like break your fingers or like pull out some teeth. Or...
You guys have been talking too much shit about Bernie. Yeah. This has gotta end.
I'm expecting a knock on my door with him just a briefcase. You're fucked. You're so fucked.
The other quote from this guy like this weekend was that he said Bernie's been running this a bit like a dictatorship. And it's not working. Listen,
he actually didn't say that. That quote, I've heard it, and I
think I found it in the quotations.
Bullshit.
Unless it was a lie.
No, he's not. That quote is taken out of context because it came from this interview that I think it was Craig Slater from Sky basically found or like went up to. Chase Carey and Bernie as they were both coming out of the Formula 1.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it was in London. So this was after a meeting at FOM. So this was one of the first meetings that they have had. This was in London, outside of FOM.
I think he said something like the full committee doesn't really work either, though, right?
Right. Yeah. So, but there was a bit of the reporter putting words in his mouth. In that because the report like the question before he was
that
like,
interview was very rushed.
Yeah, and he told the guy, he was like, the question to lead up with it was like, oh, don't you think that like blah blah blah, like this sport has been kind of being run as a dictatorship or something? And then he kind of replied using the same word. Oh, if it's a dictatorship, like that's obviously how it can run or whatever. Point being is like he didn't outright like just say, listen, the sport is a dictatorship and it cannot work. He didn't say that, but you can see how that is probably what he thinks. Now, see,
I always, when I make my notes and stuff for the show, I put that in quotes because I found it in quotes. Like, if I find something that's a quote, then I write it as a quote because I don't want to misquote. I'm trying to find this. I thought if the source was a lie then because I wrote it down from a quotation.
Yeah, no, that's
that he said that.
And actually, like the Sky website, if you're ever like quoting stuff straight from the Sky website, I was trying to do that earlier.
I don't remember where I got this even.
I was watching this Max Mosley interview, which is also very exciting. It's very interesting.
I did watch that.
They quote him, and it's in quotations, like further down at the bottom of the page, and what is in quotations does not match what the video is showing you. So I guess be wary of like the stuff out there. Like the media is fucking like they're weird. They're twisted.
Even for stuff that's This is supposed to be it's sports media. It's entertainment. It's for fun. This is for people's spare time and stuff. Like most people don't have a job in F1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
you're supposed to be informing, but they obviously like
this is almost equivalent to like watching a movie on the weekend.
It's clickbait though, for sure. What they want that's a controversial headline. You know, if Chase Carey went up and said, "Yeah, it's a dictatorship. Let's move it," but I think that they probably can get away with it because it's basically like I'm not gonna say like it's basically what he said, but it's more or less you can tell that's how he feels, or like that's kind of what he's trying to convey. That, but in his own words, later on I did find another piece that was actually like that did say a couple good things. That he basically said that for the first 100 days or so, he is just gonna be sitting in meetings, not commenting on anything, just like absorbing. Yeah. So he's like, for the next little bit, let's call it 100 days. I'm just gonna be sitting around, listening, absorbing, and then after that, once they get in,
once we're in control,
then
you can hear me speak.
But they have a clause in the contract, right? And it's 300 days. So a lot of people are saying like, 3 years. No, it's not quite 3 years. That neither him, or basically both Bernie and Chase Carey are locked into in their position, in their respective positions, as CEO and as chairman, for 300 days after the deal is completed. So, but obviously Bernie can choose to retire early, and this is what Max Mosley was sort of hinting at in that interview, is that if things don't or start going not in the direction that Bernie would like them to go, Bernie would most likely leave. And because Bernie's difficult to work with, and because Bernie probably he's very difficult to give orders to.
Yeah.
You probably can't do that. Can't tell Bernie what to do. Who do you think you are, right? So for that, for those reasons alone, I think that it is that is why Bernie's still gonna be staying around and whatever. But it's also why people have been giving that the media tries to be sensationalist and puts these stories out that he's gonna come here to change everything.
It's gonna Americanize this.
That's the other thing that I saw. Over and over and over again. I wish I could fucking go and
all the different ways he's gonna Americanize F1.
If I could slap some of these journalists, the
first day they said they want to focus on Europe for the first couple of years.
Exactly. But every single person that or every single interview that I saw, or anybody trying to get a soundbite from Chase Carey, at some point they try to force him to say oh, so you're American, so are you bringing F1 to America? So what are you gonna do to bring F1 to America? Even Bernie himself, when he was asked by Brundle, what do you think are one of the advantages here? Even Bernie was well, we need to be in America, so these guys know America and they know sports, so I guess that could be a good thing for us. They've repeated it over and over again. That is not their plan at all. Yeah. I don't know where people are getting this idea. Yeah. Liberty is there to expand on what F1
already has.
Now, one of the things that Chase Carey did say is that it would be nice to have a race in either Los Angeles, New York, or Miami, because those are the big cities.
Those are world cities. Yeah.
But he's also kind of in the same sentence. He said, but listen, we're talking about just as if it was another any big city. He's any big city.
Yeah, you could say the same for whatever, Tokyo or Shanghai or Toronto or
London for that matter.
Yeah, London would be
in the
any of the world cities. There's 20 world cities.
And I've never been to Silverstone, and I understand what you said about Silverstone being a kick-ass track and how Silverstone is an historically important track, but if the continued existence and success of F1 means that we're gonna have at one point or another face
Jolyon Palmer's dad owning it,
forget
about it.
Yeah, if we're gonna face the reality and move from Silverstone and bring it to London, I think that makes perfect sense. And with time,
they managed to get Formula E to happen. They did it.
Yeah, there you go. So
for 2 days.
Number one thing that I want to make sure that it's clear for all the freaking people that have been wondering about this, I can tell you right now positively with 100% of everything that I know and that I've read about this, Liberty did not acquire F1 to bring it to America. They said that's maybe in the plans as a long-term strategy, but there's many things that they want to do.
Circuit of the Americas probably took a deep breath because they had some financial troubles and they had that big storm screwed up their revenue last year or whatever. But that I think they're safe now, and so is like whatever Hockenheim and Silverstone and the Nürburgring and Spa. Like they're not gonna do like this Bernie publicly shaming them into. You guys aren't gonna have a race next year.
Yeah, somebody Las Vegas has been wanting to have a race. Why don't you talk to them? Yeah,
I don't think he's gonna. Those races are gonna be safe now
because it's gonna be a strategic.
He's gonna realize the historical.
Here's what's gonna happen.
Significance of them.
Yeah, and
exactly. Cheapen the tickets. They're not gonna ask for $30 million for a weekend of rental.
They're not gonna go and chase the money. They're not gonna go and chase like. So which Gulf country is going to give me like $100 million to host a race?
Baku's dropping like $35-40 million to host the weekend.
Exactly. There's not going to be that much of an incentive to do that because what they want to do is grow the sport globally all at once. It's basically what we've been hammering on about. They're not looking at F1 in America versus F1 in Europe or versus F1 in Asia. No, they're looking at F1 around the world, and they're not saying America is number one priority because they're the biggest. They're the biggest market, or saying China's priority because they're the biggest market. No, they're saying we're gonna look at everywhere and try to capitalize on revenue streams that don't exist, but it's gonna be on a global scale, which is something to be excited about.
How about this European Americanization scheme? You heard this?
No.
Renault, I don't believe it was Habitable, but somebody at Renault this morning, or the team as a whole, has been suggesting a draft system be implemented in Formula One, in quotes, a U.S. style draft system.
What, like with their team, like for like shuffling drivers around?
Exactly. Like
they've been saying that for a long time.
In hockey and baseball and basketball and football and soccer and whatever. Even world sports. Like soccer does that. Like you don't have to be like from England to play for the English national team, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to be a German guy to play for Germany. You don't have to be, or whatever. Any country that you can think of. So, but yeah, I don't know. I could see how it would be.
How would you even implement a draft?
You need like a 5-year turnover or something, because like this Wehrlein thing, like Mercedes is spending money to raise this kid up through the ranks. They're supporting half of another team.
Yep. Just
in the chance that this kid might be really good and could replace Rosberg or Hamilton in the next few years. You know what I mean? Or
2018, right? Possibly that's what they're aiming for, right? At least one of them is going to be out by 2018 because that's when they have their contract still. So
yeah, they're wanting this draft system as far as.
Do you think that
equalizing the talent and the money?
But do you think that could actually work? I don't think it could work in F1 in the way that it does with sports like hockey.
More emotion, I think, gets involved in F1. People are like
less players around. Like less people that you can trade up and down.
Because like every other thing, any other sport that has like a draft, there are like dozens of teams.
Yeah,
each of those teams have dozens of players.
Yeah. So imagine hockey.
Yeah.
Your team versus my team, and your team's just dominating the championship.
Yeah.
Mike's team's just killing it. Only one other team has won one game the whole season, and everyone knows that it's right down to your hockey sticks. You won't give those hockey sticks to any other team to compete against you. And your goalie, you have the goalie pads have set dimensions or whatever, like an F1 car would.
Yeah.
Maximum size and materials and hardness or whatever. Your goalie, your team just got the best goalie equipment and the best hockey sticks. Nobody can beat you. It's kind of like, then like how do you have a draft? Because then say your best player, right?
Yeah.
Your team wins a championship. Your best player gets moved to my team because my team wasn't as good. And say we switch our center or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then people who were fans of your guys, they'd be like, man, those hockey sticks were made in Canada, man. That guy was my favorite. He was using Canadian sticks, and now he's on this. Who said he has to go to this shit team? They don't even have real hockey sticks. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be like if Lewis Hamilton got dropped back next year to Manor,
right? Almost like Alonso, right?
Yeah, gonna be like, who the hell is this Russian team? Think they are with a German motor now with a British driver in it. And, I don't know. It's already a British guy. It's a British guy in a German car.
Right. Yeah. I think racing.
I'm just exaggerating.
But racing is definitely a much different dynamic when it comes to everything about it. Right. It is like a sport, but it's not a sport in the same way hockey, baseball, soccer is. Yeah. Like the idea of competitiveness is as equal, right? You're not less. Everyone's still competitive, but like the rules of it are much different. Right. You have to beat someone else at, while you do the same thing as them.
Yeah, but I guess just the other part of it is like the money that you spend on your car and your engineering and your parts, your materials, your whatever, even your paint. You get bits in your paint, or I don't know. I don't know if how a draft could work or not, but
I don't think there's a big enough pool of teams and
that's another seats. One. If you changed it every year, it would become more of, I guess the focus would go more on the drivers though, because say like the top 6 drivers or whatever, like the Mercedes dudes, the Ferrari guys, and the Red Bull guys, they kicked ass this year. So the 6 of those guys go back to, say, Haas-Manor and Sauber next year, right? And those dudes at the back, Wehrlein and Ocon and Ericsson, all the dudes in those 3 teams move up. And now this 2017, now they're driving Ferraris, Mercedes, and Red Bulls. The guys in the middle kind of switch a little bit. Like, if you finished in the middle, maybe you'd move up one team or down one team.
Another thing that I found interesting,
but that could
probably not work, would be to like to do it like I think it's in rugby or something like that. They have this system where there's like 3 stages of the leagues or whatever, like where it gets more and more pro. And if you finish at the bottom,
kind of like GP2 and GP3,
right? Yeah. So if you finish at the bottom of the list, then you get demoted to like the preview or like the one league down, and then the people that win from the one league down get promoted to the one league up. That, even though that's another like nice like a thing that
nice
sounds
idea.
Yeah, it sounds nice, but running a GP3 team versus running or GP2 versus running an F1 team is so completely different worlds.
Soccer is like hockey. You have a ball or a puck, and your feet is like your special shoes or your hockey stick and a net. That's all you need is a net. And anyway, you can play with like 2 sticks and a ball. Yeah. Either of those games, really, right? Yeah. But let's take my set, the F1 side, one step further. So let's say that happened. Let's just focus on the top 3 for now.
Sorry.
There's the 11 teams. So the top 3 teams, Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and the Ferraris, those 6 drivers, and the middle teams will get shuffled too. But those 3 teams, drivers, get shuffled down to the Manors and the Haas and the Saubers, say. Yeah. And those 6 guys from the Saubers and the Haas and the Manors get shuffled up to the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and the Ferraris, right? And the middle teams move, like I said, like if you finished like in 6th place, maybe you'd move up to 5th, and 5th you might move down to 6th. Right. You balance out. So now it's like that. So now Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg are driving the 2 Manors for next year, for 2017, right?
Right.
And maybe they perform a little better, right? Than
the other guys would.
Yeah, than Ocon and Wehrlein did. And maybe Wehrlein and Ocon can't handle the Mercedes as well. So maybe the Mercedes will finish in 2017 like in 4th or 5th place. So then those 3 drivers would get demoted back for the 3rd season to maybe 7th or 8th or 9th place, right? And then the 3 drivers the back cars are still shit, but they would balance out as well, because I think the budget's gonna be played with, but they'll start to balance out. So say Hamilton and Rosberg with the Manors, say they can finish them up in 9th or 10th, right? So then maybe for next season they might drive the 2nd or 3rd best car because they finished 2nd or 3rd worst. Then it's gonna balance itself out, and then in that 3rd season, so now Rosberg and Hamilton they really are some of the best drivers. Now they're in the second or third best cars, and maybe like the teams wouldn't even stay the same either, right? I guess so. Like Raikkonen might be in like the first or second best car, and Vettel might be also like the fourth or fifth. And it would, after 4 or 5 seasons, it would start to really balance itself out. You'd get guys in the middle, and then those guys who started in the back, right now they're in the shit cars, move to the best cars for next year. Then they'd be racing somewhere in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and they'd be competing against themselves. And then maybe
concept.
Yeah, so maybe the best drivers in the 3rd or 4th best cars might be able to compete against the 4th or 5th best drivers in the best cars, right?
Right.
They'd
But a year is
balance
like
it out.
You probably
a long time.
You know, yeah, a year is a long
season?
time.
Yeah. Like a year's a long time for.
That's
for
a big
that.
change to the sport, though. It's fundamental change. Like,
Yeah, it would just.
you can't be switching around cars though mid-season, right?
Mid-season, right?
Because the cars and the teams would still have to be the same. The engineering, like they're gonna have their
Lewis
own
Hamilton
systems.
and Nico Rosberg would never willingly do that.
Nobody would willingly
give up
do
their
that.
number 1 seat, like their number.
But
they
wouldn't have a choice though, right? Nobody would, if it was implemented by the
If
FIA.
if I were
if the
either of
FIA
them,
or the owners.
Nobody
wants it right now because
Right.
it's not even close to set up for this. Like they have teams sponsoring.
I'm not saying whether that's like a great solution or a bad solution. I'm not saying whether it's a good or bad idea.
I'm just playing it
But-
out. This is a Renault suggestion.
But one thing that I do like about that is that it would take care of a problem that I've sort of noticed in modern F1, and it's like it pains me to say, but I just do not like the idea that right now we're getting so many like multiple world champions, and that that has to be like it has to do with the way that right now your one team
Changing of the eras of generations of drivers.
Yeah, but then you have one team that has become dominant, and before that there was another team that was dominant year and year, and because of that their number 1 driver kept winning year and year with Red Bull, for example. And then
he gets bought by the next best team, right?
Prior to that, it was like Ferrari, right, where they had like and there it just in recent history we have seen quite a few drivers that have managed to get like multiple. Like what is this story about about Lewis like reaching a 4th world championship, Vettel having four world championships, Schumacher in his years of Ferrari had like multiple world championships in a row. That did not used to happen,
right?
And that kept like even the people that had like getting 3, let alone
cars
4,
were all hand built and nowhere near the levels of technology.
But people also moved around a lot more. Prost didn't win his 3 world championships in the same car. 4 world championships. Senna didn't either.
Neither did Lewis.
Fine.
Right, but I think the point you're getting to is like these dynasties.
These
but
dynasties.
You can't include Lewis in there because he's got 2 different cars.
Fine, that's but a car that was like in contention back then when it was like a bit of a weird period in F1 where things were settling. It wasn't quite the Red Bull dominance yet, but once Red Bull got hold of that, then Vettel won his 4 world championships. What I'm saying is that I have a problem with that. I just there's something about it that doesn't sit right with me. The fact that we have current drivers on the field with way too many championships to their name, and even like the ability to get many more. World championships should be a little bit more rare, man. You can come on. There's no way that you can't say that. You can't having 4 world championships shouldn't be like a thing that like happens like it just happened with Vettel, or it's probably gonna happen with Hamilton, like you say. It shouldn't be like, oh, I lucked into the right cars, therefore I have these 4 world championships.
It's not just that though, because their teammate, otherwise Nico Rosberg would have had 4, or Mark Webber would have had 4, right? No,
right, yeah. So it does still like go into it, but what I'm saying is that this draft system that you're proposing will definitely.
I'm not. I just found it. It was actually Cyril Abiteboul. If you want to read it, James Allen on F1 from 2 days ago. Towards a new F1, Renault boss calls for a US-style draft system to boost competition. That's the name of the article.
I think that would, if implemented like that, and let's say it does actually work, and you can get people to like do that, it would at least get rid of that notion. Like that kind of troubles me. For some reason, I can't quite put the finger to it, but it just troubles me that these drivers now, like it's sort of it seems almost easy or easier than it was before to get a multiple championship.
How about this? I think I just gave myself a bit of goosebumps. So implementing some sort of a draft and the way that you could start it, right? So there's still going to be like 2 weeks of preseason testing. So 2017, the draft is implemented for the 2017, right?
For that year. Okay.
For that year. So these drivers show up to Barcelona or Bahrain, wherever the testing is going to be. The teams show up. 11 teams show up with 22 cars. And we start out with exactly what I said. The top driver goes to Hamilton is going to go sit in Ocon's car. Nico Rosberg's going to sit in Wehrlein's car. And Wehrlein's going to sit in his. They're going to switch him around, right?
Yeah.
Start the testing. Go do like test your tires, whatever. Give the best data you can to this team. This might be your car for the season, right? So now, like, Wehrlein, he's in the right spot. Anyways, he's talking to Toto Wolff on the radio.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's driving the Mercedes around. And then through the testing, maybe this only has to be for the first year because just to get it started. So through the testing, you have, I don't know, like mini qualifyings or something through the day as the testing goes, and you just keep shuffling it up. So you might, for the testing season, the first week or two, you might actually drive a couple of different of these cars. I don't know if you'd have to implement more indie style stuff or stuff like that, like standardizing the steering wheels too much or anything like that. But
here's a problem that I see with like most of these things. You have a testing
steering wheel that you don't need all those extra settings where you could just have those and have a standard wheel. You can adjust the brake.
Yeah, but that would just like be like such a demand of the. See that's the problem is that all these solutions.
One company makes all the engine.
They become really
now, right?
really convoluted. Like you're just starting to like add like layer upon layer.
I'm just trying to work out how this could start.
Yeah, for sure. But
the first season would be too much of a
that's why it's not
discrepancy.
That's why it's not like but it's not very clean, right? It's not a very clean solution. This draft solution, it's not a very clean solution because it demands like a bunch of like a patchwork of things that would need to be added or would need to be tweaked.
It just needs to be figured out how to start it. Then every year you just go to your...
You're not guaranteed that like that's even going to solve like the main problem, which is what everybody wants is more competitive drivers in F1 more often. What's that? Oh, what that deal? Oh, Tony Stark. Nice.
Yeah, motor racing. I got in my loot crate today.
Oh, yeah? Sweet.
So just every season, you just say the first driver and the 22nd switch places, the second and the 21st switch places, the third and the 20th, right down to the 10th and 11th switching, and then the 9th and the 12th, and all the way down.
All right, man. Yeah, I get it.
You do that every season.
I get it, but it's not clean. What we need is
it's not
a more competitive F1 that is only going to happen if there's going to be like the cleanest solution to all this is the redistribution of the prize money.
Yeah, I think that has to happen. I'm not pushing for this drafting, but I think it could be cool. I'm just playing around with the idea here, but that's a bit too cool. It could be pretty cool, man. Like, I think you get used to really seeing, like, man, I wonder, Hamilton, there's going to be strategy in that too, where, like, you might not want to finish first or like in second or third place. You might want to be like, man, I think next year the Haas is going to be better than the Manor or something like that. You might try to lose a race or something and finish the season 4th or 5th on purpose.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
That kind of shit will happen. Yeah. You'd be like, man, I can't believe Lewis might be in the Sauber next year, man. I can't wait to see how he's going to do with the other engine.
That takes away from like the pure racing aspect of it.
Because then he's got to make that car work for him. It's not just Mercedes designing this engine because Lewis likes to brake hard on the front wheels. Then you get a bunch of people that like start throwing their season away like after half like if like somebody like Haas, for example, if they mathematically you can still get fired, right? You don't have to get your contract renewed.
No, but let's say by the team's perspective, from the team's perspective, like then it will just add another like layer of strategy where you could see some teams like intentionally like throwing their races, like just making like bad strategy calls to put themselves in a situation where they'd be at the bottom of the pile at the end of the year, right?
I think they'd have to make some kind
that
of
would
rule, like,
that would be like against but see
something where you'd have to take like you'd have to because people are like this year say Massa and Button are retiring, right?
Okay.
There's 2 open seats where
Right.
so that would be like the 18th and the 10th or 11th place or something. Those 2 guys' cars would be open. It would be those seats would be next
Sure.
year. Yeah. So then I don't know. So there's 2 actually.
We're losing a bit of frames.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that.
There's actually two different ways it could go. Like, if people are retiring, then I guess the seat is open. You can hire whoever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, what would you like? Say you get a draft and your team's like, oh, I don't want that guy. Then you have to take somebody from GP2 or a lower category who earned their super license.
That's the thing.
Anybody
Then,
else,
like who's eligible in this draw?
I guess anyone with a super license, right?
Yeah, right.
Or your draft pick.
You just have to.
Because somebody would have to. If
you'd
it's
have
not
to
your
pick
draft
them.
pick, you have to pick somebody who wasn't racing last year, who was not an F1, right?
I don't know, man. That's still like that's way
You'd
too
have to.
complicated.
It's not though.
No,
It's
yeah,
not.
it is.
That's how every other sport works, anyways. Hockey
Not-
or football or
Yeah, but they
baseball,
have, but
that's
they're
it.
different sports.
They're totally different systems.
Yeah.
Where
Of
one
course
where
they are.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's exactly my point. They are totally different systems.
They're totally different
Yeah.
sports.
I like the idea, but I just don't think it's.
It's not gonna happen. This
No.
is F1's about money.
Yeah,
But
well,
just
exactly.
trying to-
But even the
I'm
dynamics.
just
of
playing the
sport are
devil's
different.
advocate here. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It's
Sure
a
it
different
does.
sport.
Sure it does.
Well played. You made a good point, but I don't think.
No, Cyril Labitu, stop
Or
trying to say
whatever.
this is my idea.
With your
But-
development of Cyril Bittabul's idea, like I think you got somewhere, but man, honestly, I cannot like with 100% agree with
It would change. It would be a totally different sport because
Yeah.
you'd be seeing. But at the same time, who says there's only the culture of F1 and these broadcasters and Sky constantly talking about Lewis Hamilton, blah blah blah. He's not blah blah blah. Sucking Lewis's balls all weekend, and whatever, right? That you're led to believe that Wehrlein sucks or Ocon sucks. And
Well, they don't though.
Yeah,
But that's the
but
thing.
we will never find out if you put Wehrlein or Ocon, or maybe Wehrlein, but say like Ocon, any of the Sauber drivers, put them in this car.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that, man. Put like say like Ericsson and Hamilton or something, or let those 2 guys switch cars. I really want to see what one of the 2
You know what
Sauber
would be-
drivers does, or say like Nasser, what he does with the Mercedes and what
But-
Lewis does with that versus
You know what would be
himself
like
with his own car.
maybe an interesting application that could be implemented for F1 quite reasonably quickly. That
It's
could
like the race of champions with F1 cars.
No,
where
no,
they
no.
have a seat swap.
No. That could like kind of enforce that kind of behavior to have it, but without necessarily having a draft, is to make a rule like a mandate from the FIA and a rule for F1 that no driver can be in the same team 2 years in a row. Period. That's it.
You could say
so
that
you know
too.
you know what I mean. So yeah. So then you have a situation where by contract teams would just contract them like year by year and just say no driver can be in the same team 2 years in a row. That would change everything like overnight, and it would
The draft would almost ensure it, anyways, except for maybe the 10th and 11th place. If the
yeah, but working out the mechanics of a draft that would work and that would be fair
11th and 12th place, right?
or whatever is difficult. Whereas just simply saying no driver in a team 2 years in a row, for you guys figure it out. Figure out what the drivers market's gonna be. Then you have a very interesting every year towards the end of the year. Then it would be like a shit show of like who's gonna go where, like what's gonna like who are they gonna bring. That could be very interesting. I think that would
But
be like
my idea, or Cyril Bitibul's idea, has that built in anyways. You couldn't be on the same team 2 years in a row anyway. If you did say first and last, second and second last, third and third last, fourth and fourth last, you switch them all.
unless there's 11 teams and one in the middle and then the other.
Yeah, 11 and 12. Maybe you switch garage sides. But yeah, maybe you roll it on those 2. You have to switch to one team up or one team down.
No, you guys don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nah.
Yeah, it could be cool. And I think after 3 or 4 seasons, it would balance itself up because the first place. Yeah, you wouldn't get what you had either with the multiple championships unless you can bring last year's last car.
Yeah.
And it could be something great like Manor's been working on next year's car since last year.
Yeah, and yeah. So
Their car
start-
might actually be badass, and the first place driver sitting in it could actually maybe do something with it. I don't know, whatever. It's not gonna happen. But the money's gonna balance, and it'll be similar. It's like a draft of cars instead of drivers.
I just think I think that all these ideas are definitely coming out right now, and Brundle even has like some ideas of like, but yeah, well, obviously, and it's great that these things are coming out because it there is definitely like a sense of renewed hope in this sport.
Rubbing of hands together.
Joe Sayward, like I think the way that he put it on his blog is that like it just does seem like everybody up and down the paddock is like you know, during World War II when like people heard word of the Americans are coming and they're gonna liberate us. You know, like, oh man, the Americans are coming, man. Like, don't worry, like they're gonna make everything better. So everybody's keen to put to like project out there, to put out there their ideas of what F1 should look like. And you know, if we have this change, let's pile more things up on this change. If things are changing, we may as well sit down and reevaluate how everything is run. And I think that itself is great. Like I think that's
a good thing.
Yeah, we should there should be a sense of riding this momentum. So this one aspect of the sport is changing. Okay, let's go out and see how much more of it can we change. Like what other changes should we be making? Because if things are gonna change now, you may as well like, you know, make a big change. Why not? That F1 definitely does need. Mm-hmm. But not the sport. See, that's the thing. It's not the sport side. The sport is, we pretty much have arrived at a position where by trial and error, qualifying works, right? And the race format has been working so far. Things have been introduced recently that kind of had taken care of like some of like the more niggling things. Like I think the virtual safety car this year, we can pretty much say at this point, and I want to say it, that
it's almost dead.
Well, it's almost dead, but it's been a success in its own right.
Yeah.
Because in situations where they would have maybe like considered bringing out an actual safety car and thus delaying the whole thing, they've just switched the virtual safety car on, let the marshals clean the track, and then everybody's out. No harm, like very little time has been wasted, and you can improve that a little more. But I think the sport itself is good. Now we just need to focus on all the stuff around it.
Let me read you just a Bitty Bull's comment here, just whatever, because, you know, like Sauber and Force India have been pushing this EU Commission thing, this thing's not fair, and whatever. I guess Renault is probably kind of interested in that. But here's his quote, anyways, because they're a manufacturer team. His quote is, "Right now we're more or less last on the grid, so I'm not sure which league I'm part of," said the Frenchman. "But if I look at that very selfish league, I could benefit from that, right?" That's what Renault's customer team is killing them, right? They haven't figured this out. But the brands will always be very aspirational. They always want to be associated with Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, and maybe Renault. Mm-hmm. So I think some form of more level playing field, and not necessarily a reverse of the success that we're talking about, which I guess the draft, but a more level playing field is something that would be good for everyone.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Right. The draft's not going to happen, but the money thing, I think, is it has to. It has to, because there's been like little whispers about Ferrari getting pissed at the top levels about maybe their historical payments being taken away.
Yeah, nobody wants to like lose like $100 million a year, right? Or whatever, however much more that they get than anybody else.
Just
but
for being Ferrari.
That's coming, and the best argument that I heard of
can't wait for that, man,
is Max Mosley in that interview. Mm-hmm. He was basically like, listen, if you're Ferrari, you're already getting like an unfair advantage from everybody else because you're the most popular team, so therefore you can charge more for like stickers on your car. Yeah. So take that
and for t-shirts and hats and whatever.
So that's what Max Mosley said. He said, so take all the extra commercial success and commercial revenue that comes with being the most popular F1 team, but
and build it. Yeah, that's yours to deal with.
Yeah, build on that. Give the money back to F1. Give the money to the other teams. Make the aspiration for anybody, and now like,
it shouldn't be hard for Ferrari to keep selling T-shirts and stuff
or whatever. Get creative.
I see people all the time with Ferrari shirts and stuff on.
And if you don't like, and if you're like depending on that extra $100 million that you get from F1 a year to like to do what with it? look at what they've and when we're talking about a team that's probably not going to be winning races for the next couple more or winning championships for at least another couple of years, maybe with the restructuring, just.
Yeah, big chance next year, but they
said
they're working on two cars at once, so they know they're not winning next year.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, we better start building two at once.
Yeah,
2 years ahead of time. Yeah, I don't know.
It is a weird predicament that they're in, and it is eventually going to happen. Everything that I've heard and just the way that things are moving and shaking right now in F1, it does seem like it's going to end up being that it's going to end up being a situation where the teams maybe are going to be given a chance to participate in the ownership of the sport, but crucially, and this is what Max Moses said, is that you have to be careful with that because, bring him in as shareholders, but don't bring him in as decision makers, because the moment that you start giving them too much power to make decisions, you got to remember that each team is going to want to have the advantage to be for themselves, not for the sport as a whole.
Right.
So, but anyway, if you bring him in and you bring him in with a promise of listen, Ferrari, you're just going to have to sit down and get, take what you're given. And so is everybody else going to be. And the distribution of the money is not going to be up to you anymore. But do you want to maybe buy a little bit more shares of F1?
Yeah, they might get offered.
Participate in the so earn more money if the sport is doing well.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna be given that kind of a chance to be still a big part of F1.
Yeah, so buy more shares, in the sport, but don't expect the price money is gonna make more money because you have more shares of the sport, but also having more shares means that you have that extra incentive to see the sport as a whole do well, because if the sport as a whole is making money, then you're making money.
Yeah,
I think that Bitsy Boo is kind of insightful guy. That's basically what he just said. He's like, obviously, this is just a suggestion I'm throwing out there, the draft system or sharing the money or whatever. But it's obviously it's easy for us being at the bottom right now. We just came back, and to be on the selfish side, it's so easy, and that's how that's what everyone does. That's how all the teams operate. And he's like, yeah, but that's nice that he's at least admitted. He's like, yeah, obviously this probably isn't gonna work, but it would be nice for us at the bottom, something like a draft or similar to a draft, whatever.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know. The last thing I got for this week is just this Pirelli thing, because a couple of races back they were testing new tire designs at I think it was at Spa in the practices anyway.
Yeah.
And they would have needed a unanimous team decision to bring them. Their idea was to bring them to the next race, but now they're not.
Oh.
They're not. They're gonna stick with these same tires for the rest of the season. So I guess the higher pressures. I think these new constructions were supposed to have been able to run at lower pressures. They had stronger sidewalls. They're supposed to have been able to run lower pressures, but
no.
But no. So anyways, I don't know. The F1 circus moving down the street right now, I guess, to basically to Kuala Lumpur. Very close in Malaysia.
But not this weekend. This is the next race is going to be
it's in 2 weeks.
Weeks from now.
But anyways, the Pirelli's reason, their whatever news story they put out about it, they're not bringing these tires, is that they couldn't get consistent feedback from the teams when they were doing the testing at that practice.
Oh.
But anyways, they basically said it was a bunch of bullshit because the only difference was in the construction, but teams were complaining that there's not as much grip and the tires don't last as long and all this. But the actual slick compound is the same. It hasn't changed. Nothing changed. Just the sidewalls are stronger.
Oh, yeah?
They just rebuilt. Yeah, they're just a rebuilt, stronger tire, which, like I said, I believe was so they could lower the PSI 1 or 2.
Because that's what the teams wanted a little bit.
But they didn't get consistent feedbacks. All the teams want the same tires. We already know how to use these and cheat with them or whatever. But they reiterated, as Brundle did this weekend, about the increase in compounds possibly for next year.
Yes.
Probably for next year. But they also said their goal as well is to avoid introducing any more confusion, and more compounds means more testing. So it's going to depend on that. And I guess it's going to depend because Pirelli is the one that's suggesting going to Bahrain for the testing.
Because it's hotter.
Because it's because the testing is gonna be in like February, which is like cold. Like it's like almost snowing probably in Barcelona. There's a chance it could.
Could maybe if on like a weird day, probably.
There's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance. But anyways, so I guess probably the new compound's gonna depend on that too. Going to Bahrain maybe. I don't know. 5 compounds is enough, I think.
5 compounds has been enough. Has been great.
The only change I would make, we were talking about this at Betty's on the weekend, is having, instead of which it won't happen, but Pirelli picks now 3 compounds. Like for the next race, it's going to be hard, medium, and soft. And then the teams pick how many of each they want. Let the teams pick for the race all the out of all the compounds, hard, medium, soft, and ultra soft.
Not out of like just that little pool. Yeah, I agree
pick
that
5.
Yeah, that should be that. If they're gonna make one change, instead of don't add an extra compound without making that a rule. Yeah. And I think it would make the strategy way better.
Yeah, the teams will change their suspensions and stuff so much, and you're not gonna see like a circuit like Sepang. You're not gonna see like the next race. You're not gonna see people coming up with ultra softs anyways. Like probably nobody would pick that because it's a hard G corner, like super fast corners. I guess we'll talk more next week too, but don't forget this track's being resurfaced and reprofiled a few corners.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about Sepang and a lot of.
Oh, I love Sepang.
Yeah,
I love Malaysia.
The Malaysian Grand Prix. I think I kind of. At first, I didn't know if I was gonna like it that it's this much further into the year. Like even at the beginning of the year, I felt that it was weird that we went right to China, without passing to Malaysia. But now I'm kind of glad that it's been saved till now because like I feel like I can savor it more because at the beginning of the year it was a great track and it was always like a good race at the beginning, but kind of nothing had been decided, so it was just sort of like it's a good race at the beginning of the year. But now that the championship is like alive and well, and now they're going into that track, it's like sparks are gonna fly. Trust me.
Yeah.
What do you like?
I don't know. To me, I think it's like probably the funnest, the most fun.
Yeah.
Fun to drive. Yeah. I'll stick to my other choice if I had a choice of a circuit to drive but I think this one is probably the most fun. Yeah, like
really not even
throwing the cars into. Yeah, I think it's more fun than Suzuka. Yeah. More higher speed corners, more square corners, or like double apex corner.
Sweet.
It's super fun. It's so fun.
We're looking forward to that.
I can't wait to see the reprofiling too, because the circuit's like 10 years old or something, at least 10, 12 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
Super old.
Before we like sign out for the day, one more thing that we want to talk about was like those drawings that came out of the active windscreen by Enrique Scalabroni.
Can you pull up I put up 4 links there.
I highlighted it, Mike.
There's 4 pages. We can just like tab through all 3 of them or 4 of them. One of them's kind of a photograph, but
yeah. So this is a couple pictures that Scalabroni actually put out, and like he was basically going around up and down the paddock in in Singapore trying to like show it to as many people.
A notebook like this full of drawings he was showing people. Yeah, that's what these are pictures of his drawings. Yeah, there's another one. So like that yellow highlighted part is kind of like goes like a flap that opens and closes. Yeah,
active windscreen, high impact strength. So what he's talking about is actually fitting all the cars with these 2 sort of standard parts. One of them is going to be this section here, which is like a thing that stays flat right in front of the driver. Like, you know, where they usually over here they have like those like antennas sticking out. So I guess they might have to move them a bit further. But to have it flat, they're made of like high impact material. But one of the things that he said is that I guess he's thinking that if it was more like a dome shape, that would impair a little bit the driver's visibility because of like how it bends the light. But he's planning for these 2 panels of glass, or that big panel of glass here, to be perfectly flat, so that if you deploy it, and when you deploy it, it deploys like on sort of like a hinge that it pops up like that.
Yeah.
But you can still see straight perfectly fine. Now, for this mechanism to be released,
it's sort of like a LiDAR LiDAR sensor, some sort of hypersonic sensor looking forward?
2 triggers. Yes, one would be an automatic trigger, like a some sort of LiDAR, some sort of sensor that detects when parts are coming.
I guess a manual release
and a manual release for backup that the driver could.
I don't remember reading that part
at any time.
Which I guess would also have to release the head cover, so that other piece would be like you get in the car and then close it like you're closing a lid, but it only stays above your head. See that flap there? Yeah. If you go to the other tabs, you can see one of them shows it closed. That one's. Yeah, there you go.
Oh shit.
And then you can see it also has the high impact screen closed and profile view at the top left. See that?
Oh yeah.
See right there. So it'll be spring or pneumatic launched, like I guess like air canister or something to shoot it up, open it up in like 0.1 second.
They asked the team principals during the team's principal press conference about if they'd seen these video or these images or whatever.
Yeah, so there's his hand drawings.
Yeah, very good, fucking Scalabroni. You draw very well, sir. But yeah, look at this. Anyway, so they asked him if they had seen it, what they thought about it. And Christian Horner was kind of saying something that I sort of agree with, and it's that he doesn't want to look too much into these solutions simply because they're not very it's not very elegant.
It's expensive too.
Yeah, it would be
expensive to test.
Yeah, expensive, and it's 2 separate things, and making this to work the way that you wanted it might not necessarily happen all the time.
It would standardize that as well.
Yeah,
too many moving parts.
Right. Yeah, the too many moving parts thing. Typically it's not seen as good engineering if it has too many moving parts where it doesn't have.
More likely to break and not really work.
But I think that all of those are well and good. Those are good reasons for sure. But one thing that I say that this has in favor of. The Halo, for example, is that I'm convinced, just by looking at this, I'm convinced that this wouldn't have the problem of creating new problems. Mm-hmm. Whereas, the Halo, we just, because of,
the way you look at it, you're like, oh, this looks like it's going to cause problems.
Yeah, right. Or maybe, Martin Brundle, likes to say that, too. Yeah, but are we, making a new, an unforeseen thing with this Halo? Whereas with this, even though it looks very complicated, if you think about it, in and of itself is not really creating a different set of problems that the Halo did. For example, the support structure on top of the Halo. Who knows if an impact hard enough on it could make it bend in and then go into the driver's helmet, whereas it normally wouldn't have.
It's supposed to be a 3-centimeter steel bar or titanium bar, which I'm sure it's strong. But also, it blows. It doesn't allow air to blow into the air intakes. The same, the whole aerodynamics has to be reworked for every car that would take a Halo.
Whereas this, not necessarily. You wouldn't, because this would be sitting flat most of the time. You don't have to do any extra aerodynamic.
But
to it.
At least this guy, he hasn't started a business called Pop-Up Screens Incorporated or something. He came up with took these drawings in his free time, brought them down to the circuit, showed them around, and then he said, you guys take this, it's free. And then he's like, I don't have money to test it. This would need to be tested in the lab and stuff anyways. So anyone that has, you're free to use this.
And Scalabroni is not just a fan that's coming up with these crazy ideas. By the way, he actually
an architect, a building architect.
No, he's a car designer. He's actually worked among others. He's worked for Dallara, Williams, Ferrari, Lotus.
Oh, okay.
His resume is quite he used to be a guy that you would normally run into up and down the paddock back then. But yeah, he's
quite the sketch artist.
Yeah, man. Back then, to be an engineer, you had to know all this crap, and to be able to pull off sketches like this, because there were not computers.
I just tried to do
no tablets, bud.
F1 cars when I was in elementary school in my notebooks. They all sucked. None of them looked like that.
All right, and I guess with that, I mean, we'll come back next week for more Malaysia, more developments.
We're
gonna keep an eye on Bernie's cantankerous demeanor. Let's see if his mood actually, I don't know, I don't want to be this kind of guy, but I am actually happy that Bernie is having a hard time with this restructuring of F1.
Yeah,
he's giving away his baby. He's like, you take care of it now.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it would be hard for anybody.
Yeah. He's like, no, I want the money. And he's like, oh, wait, I actually love my kid.
Yeah. All right, DJ, you can safely play us out. Thanks for everybody to watch. For watching, and we'll be doing the F1 at Betty's for the next race as well. If you're interested to come down,
you'll
check
have
it out.
Fun. Yeah, see you guys.
FlatOutFever.com.
And other stuff.
Strange